Too many people associate retirement with the end.
I figure it'll be a little bit of a transition to try to slow down a little bit.
The number one question I have about retirement is having enough money to last.
In my mind, you start to look at it, that's an opportunity to do more of the things you want when you want to do it.
Make it financially able to do things that I enjoy.
Party.
Just financial security and enjoy my family.
More people need to go into it with their eyes wide open, understanding what is my plan, what do I want to do, and then how am I going to get there?
Will the rules change?
I have no real specific plan.
I'm planning for what the status is right now. I just hope it doesn't change drastically.
Welcome to the RetireTastic Show with JoAnn Regan, powered by the Retirement Income Store and brought to you by Financial Security Group of Arizona. In retirement, it's all about income. And today, you'll hear ideas, concepts, and strategies designed specifically to generate reliable retirement income. Now, here's the host of the RetireTastic Show, JoAnn Regan.
I'm sure you will agree, we are inundated with an incredible amount of information. And sadly, much is irrelevant, erroneous, or information we simply don't care about. Sometimes we don't have a choice in today's world where TV and media platforms of all kind, whether it's online, on air, social media, email, or over the phone, it's just a massive amount of information. And with what recently transpired in Afghanistan and all the overwhelming media noise from both sides of the aisle, it reminded me and made me want to talk to you about a recent client meeting. Welcome to this week's edition of the RetireTastic Show. Always glad and happy to have you on board. And I'm your host, JoAnn Regan, where my goal is to help you have a fantastic retirement. I recently had a really nice meeting with a new client, and it was all just before the Afghanistan fallout. And he actually heard me here on the radio, and he had a friend who heard me say, if you like the program, please tell a friend, and he did. And that gentleman was sitting across the desk from me. So I'll say it again. If you like the program, please tell a friend. Anyway, we were going over some information and talking about a whole bunch of retirement-related things, and he's retired military. And it occurred to me as we were talking how many people I actually know, relatives, friends, clients that are retired military, and it's a stunning number. Even my own father is retired from the Army. And all branches of the service like Coast Guard, Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, all of them, stunning numbers of people who have been in the military. So, of course, in the conversation last week with this gentleman who's retired Navy, he was talking about planning, and we were talking about his retirement planning. But he shifted it over to his experience with the military. He brought up the fact that they weren't a lot different than retirement planning, with a couple of really big exemptions, as you can imagine. He was talking about the great deal of planning that goes on in the military, that they're constantly planning because of the extraordinary level of insecurity that surrounds the military, and it's constant and continuous. They're being called into search and rescue, national disasters, and 9/11 situations all the time. So they have these elaborate plans that they think about, and that's their type of consistency planning. They think about the continuity of their planning. They factor in virtually every possible contingency. Because as he said, once a conflict starts, it can go to pieces in a heartbeat. They can completely disintegrate because it basically comes down to that fog of war, and everything can get chaotic. You have to rely on a lot of things built in, and one of them is training. That's the consistency of training and the continuity of chain of command and that kind of thing. He went on to say planning is put to the extreme in situations where life and death are involved. And it's true. I can remember watching a documentary about the Pentagon. It was some time back, and this documentary had access to the Pentagon War Room, and it was extraordinary. All the walls are covered in maps, online maps of the entire world. Decision makers can instantly focus on any tiny quadrant of the world. There is constant viewing of the entire world with real-time satellite fields, and this is where major planning goes on. It takes into consideration the things I just talked about, the consistency. The planning has to be consistent, and it has to be continuous, and it has to be based on contingency factors of all kinds. So it brought me back to my recent conversation with my client that really, in many ways, what we were attempting to do with retirement planning is establish consistent and continuous planning that's based on contingency factors of all kinds. And it's extraordinarily serious. I realize without trying to put too much of a fine point on it, competent retirement planning follows the same steps, just a different context. So the military is forced to do it, and this would be something that they really don't have a choice. They don't want to go out into a field or a chaotic situation such as a war in a haphazard manner. It's already dangerous enough. It's like he said, that's where all of this training comes in, the drilling and the maintaining the flow of command, so that when things start to fall apart, which they tend to do, you have things that you can hold on to. And that brings me back to what I do with my clients, and that's putting planning down on paper and giving them a foundation so that when there is a chaotic moment or a chaotic time, they have something that's consistent and continuous to fall back on. I would love to help you have that foundation as well. And your foundation is how your assets are set up. Now, I know many of you are thinking, this is all great. How do I know if my portfolio is properly set up? Well, I've put together a commission report that can help you better understand your foundation, and it's called Reset Your Retirement. Yes, that's Reset Your Retirement, and how do you get it? You just call me. My phone number is 1-800-FSG-7890, and you call me, and I'll email this commission report right out to you. It's that simple, and I know it will help educate you. Again, that's 1-800-FSG-7890. So you're listening to the RetireTastic Show, sponsored by Financial Security Group of Arizona, and I'm JoAnn Regan, and I'll be right back.
The RetireTastic Show with JoAnn Regan airs Saturday afternoons at 1 and Sunday mornings at 8:30. You're listening to the RetireTastic Show with JoAnn Regan, powered by the Retirement Income Store.
Investing in the stock market these days is like riding a roller coaster. 1 minute you're moving up slow and steady just the way you like it, and then all of a sudden, your investment portfolio is in a free fall, up 800 points, down 800 points. It can be very scary. A lot of people no longer gamble with their retirement in the stock market. If you are tired of the ride and want to look at safer options, or would like to learn a better way to grow your money during these times,
call 800-FSG-7890. That's 800-FSG-7890. Or visit us online at yourfsg.com.
Whether this is the new normal or the new right now, our economy has changed. So what does this mean for your retirement? To keep you up to date and informed, we've put together a series of webinar events. Because even though many things around us keep changing, your need for retirement income will remain constant. For the date and time of our next webinar event,
call 800-FSG-7890. That's 800-FSG-7890. Or visit us online at yourfsg.com. Time now for more of the RetireTastic Show with JoAnn Regan, powered by the Retirement Income Store and brought to you by Financial Security Group of Arizona.
I think about so many of my clients this past year and a half with the COVID shutdowns. I have clients in various businesses like restaurant businesses and personal service that have seen an enormous drop in their business. And the main issue is our economy has changed, and most likely forever. Some business models are going to be gone forever simply because of the nature of businesses having to adapt. There's going to be a new paradigm for many businesses as how they're going to function post-COVID, post-shutdown. There's going to be a lot of changes. So welcome back to this edition of the RetireTastic Show. Always nice to have you on board, and I'm JoAnn Regan, your host. Thanks for listening. So things that were 2 years ago in terms of employment are going to disappear because in the last year and a half, an extraordinary number of corporations have made decisions about how many employees do they really need. Do they need central office space? Lots of things are going to change. Well, it affected some of my clients. That's when we would have long phone conversations, or we would go online and talk about the protections that we have built in with their retirement money. Do they need to have streams of income starting now? For many of them, and I'm thinking of a few in particular, they're being forced to retire. One, the business is simply going out of business. Another was bought out by a larger corporation that simply made their job irrelevant because they were going to be put in their own people. That's like an automatic retirement right there. They were fortunate enough to be in a position where they could, because I helped them reset their retirement. So they're going to be collecting income from their retirement money. You hear me talk about income on this show every single week, and I'll say it again. Retirement is all about income. And if anyone tells you differently, they simply do not understand retirement planning, period. End of discussion. Or as Al Gore once said, the debate is over. I want to put everyone on that kind of stable footing, real income in your bank account month after month while still controlling and maintaining your principal. That stable financial plateau and foundation so that it doesn't crumble and fall apart because there's an emergency, a 911 in somebody's life. Well, it's a great feeling to be able to say, look, relax, we can take care of this. And you're not going to have to worry about outliving the money. You're not going to have to worry if something happens to you. Your wife or your husband is not going to be left without income. I have found that that's basically what people are looking for. They want income in retirement, and they don't want to spend down their principal. So with that in mind, I have another commission report that I'd like to get out to you, and it's titled The Case for Fixed Income. Again, that's the case for fixed income. And how do you get it? Simply reach out to the show at 1-800-FSG-7890, and I'll mail this educational piece right out to you. It's that simple. So again, all you have to do is ask for the case for fixed income at 1-800-FSG-7890. This is JoAnn Regan, and I'm your host of the RetireTastic Show. I would say if you asked my clients that there's no question in my mind that they would absolutely say that what they want is consistency, continuity, and income in their planning, and that they want to make sure that they are eliminating unnecessary risk. Now, since the market has been up, that's great. My clients have been reaping the benefit of that too. But even when the market takes a dip or a dive, and it always does and will, my clients are not affected. You see, one of the interesting things about retirement planning is that I want to not only protect your money and preserve your money, but I want to give you that peace of mind that you actually have something that is consistent and continuous and stable. Unlike any time our friends in the federal government, when they want to control something or manipulate something, everybody gets uptight because it's what are these guys going to do now? And it's downright scary because they're so inconsistent, just like the stock market. The biggest issue with the federal government doing anything is the inconsistency of the legislation. Something that should be fairly straightforward will end up being 250 pages to 1,000 pages long, and who in the world is going to read that? That's the problem. It gets convoluted. Then there's a change of administration or a change in the makeup of the House of Representatives or the Senate, and all of a sudden they're lurching back and forth and backtracking. And the problem there is, as we all know, it's kind of like a rogue elephant. It's just tramping through the flower beds. Can't help itself. It's going to smash and crush and not even be aware of it. That's why you have so many conflicting things streaming out of Washington. Then, of course, there are so many political takes, whether it's left or right, and it gets confusing. The bottom line, no consistency. It's not a consistent message. It's not consistent in terms of benefit. Nothing is consistent. So that's where you take it down to a personal level, and that's where, of course, my clients are. We have to take personal responsibility, and we do. That's one of the great things about Dealing 101. People sitting across from me, they're willing and able to take full responsibility for the retirement. They know what they have to do. They're dealing with all the contingency issues. It could be family, employment, or health. All of those things do play in. But it's very real taking responsibility. It's strengthening and it's empowering for people to do that. And that's where I think the thing that I can offer and have offered to my clients is that absolute rock solid peace of mind. We're not throwing things in the air and hoping that they'll float. This will float. These are true retirement income plans. You are investing by contract with major companies and institutions, and that's important. All of this is so critically important because we really don't know what the market is going to look like in 5 years. We just don't. Economically, who knows? The market is going up, and as you read and I read and hear, I pay close attention to this because this is what I do for a living. Many, many experts that do this are saying we are witnessing one of the greatest bubbles that's being pumped full of hot air by federal dollars, both in the Federal Reserve and Congress. It's a fire hose of money. It's propping up so much of the economy, it looks like it's booming. But in reality, here's those folks that watch the market and watch the economy, and they're loaded with 1,000 different opinions. And you can get from the worst case scenario, it's all going to be over next Thursday at noon, all the way to, oh no, this is going to go up and go on and continue to grow. Well, you know what? That's a lot of ifs. That's a lot of contingency planning. So what I say, let's settle for what we do know and take advantage of this market while it's up. When it falls, your income stays the same and you'll be in a position to buy at the dip, but you'll never have to crawl out of a hole. I don't think anybody doubts the fact that there's going to be a major correction. I don't know. I don't know when it's going to happen because major corrections hurt a lot of people. I can't see how it's not going to happen when so much of this has been artificially pumped up. But again, a market dip or correction does not affect my client's income. We see it as a buying opportunity to add even more income to the portfolio. Now, I know many of you are thinking this is all great, but how do I know if my portfolio is properly set up for income? Well, as I mentioned earlier, I have this great commission report called Reset Your Retirement. And how do you get it? You just give me a call at 1-800-FSG-7890. Very simple. Just give me a call, 1-800-FSG-7890, and I'll email this report out to you called Reset Your Retirement. You're listening to the RetireTastic Show, and I'm JoAnn Regan, where my goal is to help you have a fantastic retirement. We'll be right back.
This is the RetireTastic Show with JoAnn Regan, powered by the Retirement Income Store and brought to you by Financial Security Group of Arizona. Remember the good old days when you could earn 5% on a bank CD? What if you could earn similar rates on interest and dividends to those CD rates? It's possible. And the income specialists at the Retirement Income Store can help you. We're a network of experienced financial advisors operating independently owned firms under the umbrella of the Retirement Income Store. This makes it simple and easy for you to find a retirement income specialist in your local area. Our advisors have helped hardworking Americans across the country invest and save for their retirement.
To learn more about the Retirement Income Store, call your local Retirement Income Specialist, JoAnn Regan of the Financial Security Group at 800-FSG-7890. That's 800-FSG-7890.
The Retirement Income Store, where retirees go for income. Welcome back to the RetireTastic Show with JoAnn Regan, powered by the Retirement Income Store and brought to you by Financial Security Group of Arizona.
So right before the break, I was talking about some of my clients because of COVID-19 and the lockdowns that they had been shoved right into retirement, and none of them really wanted to be there. And when this thing pans out and ends, they are going to do everything they can to get back into the workforce. But their specialties were such that it was going to be very difficult, and those specialties were eliminated in the last year to a year and a half. And they have time on their side now because I've been able to set them in a way that they have income streams. So welcome back to this week's edition of the RetireTastic Show. Always nice to have you. I'm JoAnn Regan, and thanks for listening. So right now, instead of wandering the halls of their house, wringing their hands at 3 a.m. about what are they going to do about money and career, they can relax and think it through. If they decided to stick with retirement, they have that option. But if something turns up, they can get back to work. They can turn off that lifetime income and go back to work. That's the flexibility that I want to give my clients, and that's what I'm all about. I see we still have a little time, so let's go back to the gentleman I was having a meeting with a few weeks ago, and he's one of the three that's in this situation. He had his job eliminated because of a buyout, and he has a very specialized field of expertise. And we were sitting there going over his options, and he told me, I spent 20 years in the military, and we would plan right down to the last detail of an operation. He went on to say, we knew full well that if the operation became intense, then all of the plans can be shoved and shelved and thrown into chaos. Because once the bullets start flying, there are all kinds of things that change and happen that you may not have planned for. We try our best to build in every contingency, but things do happen. He also said, it's not a lot different for me in my job. I had no idea that my job was at risk, and it had nothing to do with COVID. That's the irony. It had nothing whatsoever to do with COVID. The corporation that he worked for was being taken over by a much larger entity that wanted their expertise in a certain field, and he lost his job in the process because his department was wiped out. He said, think of that. That was something I was not aware that they were even negotiating for the sale of the company. It was a shock to all of us. That was one of the things you can't build into your planning. It is truly a situation like this, much like a war situation, in which you're planning your retirement. And for him, retirement was going to be 5 years away. And we had built everything around that 5-year projection, and bang, all of a sudden it's here in less than a year. But taking all of that in consideration, even as much as surprise and disheartening it was, I told him, we're just going to have to make things happen right now, not in 5 years down the road like we had originally planned. We're going to set you up for income right now, today. Let's put together an income stream and let's protect you and your family right now. He's determined to get back into his field, but the problem is it may not be in the same area. He is not one of those guys that's going to sit around and wait. He's going to go after it. He has time to do that. And as I said earlier, he's not walking around his house at 3 a.m. wringing his hands about what he's going to do or how he's going to pay his mortgage or take care of this and that. Nope, that's all taken care of. We were able to put his retirement money to work for him and get him income, and he's not going to run out of it. It's not a situation that he's going to tap in early and spend his assets. With the new income stream, he's not going to run out of principal because he's not spending it down. This is real income in his bank account month after month, and that's what's exciting about it. He knows he has time, and he knows it's going to take some time, and he has flexibility. We have the flexibility to flow. Now, that's a tough thing to do emotionally. Most of us get into patterns and we get into habits, but when that is disrupted, that continuity and consistency of a daily routine or a weekly or monthly routine, it is hard to get back into that emotional thinking or adjusting to the situation. So I help people financially adjust to situations they weren't prepared to handle that quickly. It gets us back to the inconsistency of having money at risk in the market. If too much is there and the market takes a downturn 2 years down the road or 3 years down the road, what impact is that going to have on your retirement? It could have a great deal of impact because where are you in your retirement planning? If you're 2 or 3 years away from retirement and all of a sudden you're there, but there's an enormous drop in the value in the market and you have to get out of that hole, well, that's my whole message basically. Let's avoid that hole. Let's not fall into it. Let's put some consistency in your retirement planning and let's put some income into your retirement planning. It not only makes financial good sense, it makes emotional good sense. And emotions trigger physically. As we know, high tension creates high blood pressure, creates strokes and heart attacks. Whereas the reverse, when somebody is basically happy and basically feels like they're safe and sound, that converts to everything positive. Let's do everything we can do to make it positive for you. Now, I know many of you are thinking this is all great. How do I know if my portfolio is properly set up for income? Well, again, I have that commission report that I talked about earlier, and it's titled Reset Your Retirement. Again, Reset Your Retirement. Just reach out to me on the show and let me know if I can get this out to you. I can actually email it to you or mail it to you. It's that simple, and I know it will help educate you. So if you want it, give me a call at 1-800-FSG-7890. Well, that's all that I have time for this week. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, tell a friend. Have a good week and be careful out there. Talk to you next week.
That's all the time we have for today. To speak with JoAnn off the air, call 800-FSG-7890. And for more information about our program, visit yourfsg.com. The RetireTastic Show with JoAnn Regan airs Saturday afternoons at 1 and Sunday mornings at 8:30. To speak with JoAnn off the air, call 800-FSG-7890. That's 800-FSG-7890. Or visit us online at yourfsg.com.
Investment advisory services offered by FSG Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the states of Arizona, Nevada, and California. Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm, is a sub-advisor of FSG Financial Services, Inc. FSG Financial Services, Inc. and Sound Income Strategies, LLC are not associated entities. FSG is a franchisee of the Retirement Income Store. The Retirement Income Store and Sound Income Strategies, LLC are associated entities.